Hello, friends, and welcome back to MB2 Underground, the show where we cut through the noise, smoother than a slalom skier at sunrise. We're not here to tread water. We're here to carve our way through another episode. Let's get scarious. I'm Sarah Reed. Scarious.
And I'm Jonathan Tyrek, JT.
Hi.
Hey, Sarah. Let's get scarious about something. You've already made up a word today, which is pretty awesome.
That's not the first word today, just the first one you're hearing.
Well, on the podcast.
Okay,
is.
fair.
Do you like water sports?
No, I'm terrified of water. I don't know how to swim.
Are you serious?
I'm scarious. Yes.
Oh,
I started swim lessons as a kid, and then the neighbor that was teaching me how to swim moved,
So
after the 2 lessons.
do
So.
you?
I can get in and I can but then after that, if I actually had to get somewhere,
You couldn't do it?
I'd probably panic. That'd probably be the reason I couldn't.
That's cool. I
But-
mean, I guess kind of cool. Maybe not super cool, but
But I think today's guest is water sport affluent.
I think you're
Is that
right.
the right word?
Yeah, sure. Sure. Well, let's dive into that. So let me introduce our guest.
That'd be great.
So today we have the founder, president of Branding Resources, Mr. Matt Carnes. Matt, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
I did not know we were going to learn new words today.
Scarious.
That's my side hustle is education. As if our education system wasn't screwed enough.
Tell us about Branding Resources. I want to get to the origin story, but tell us just in general about the company first.
So the company started from basically what I realized in one of the questions was how do you come up with the idea and see the need, connecting the graphics to all the other things and the logistics side of it was something I saw a lot of pitfalls with a lot of programs and companies I worked with. And I never, ever, ever wanted to be a business owner. That was never one of my goals or desires. But through a couple of challenging circumstances, my wife said, look, if your biggest fear is the accounting side, the reporting side, and all the government, forms and all that stuff, she said, I'll do that part. And I said, well, if you'll do that part, then we can start this company. So 21 years ago, we started, and my first order was with the Dallas Cowboys, which was kind of cool.
That's,
Right out
that's
the
a
gate.
heck of a first
Yeah.
order.
And to this day, my graphic designer used to be one of their head graphic designers for the Dallas Cowboys. So,
Well, that's cool.
so what it does, it gives us the ability with the logistical ability to execute programs. It's always been self-funded, so I don't have I don't have any bank debt. So I have the capital we need to run and do what we can do. But with Rick making us look good, it just helps, helps make things look good and gets things delivered on time. And there's a need for that. You know, it doesn't sound like it's that much, but
It's not complex, but it's complicated.
it can be.
Yeah.
It
Well,
can be.
especially if it's not being executed upon, it makes the industry you're trying to break into a little easier. What were you doing before?
I've been basically in this industry since I got out of college.
Okay.
But I was working for other companies along the way. I did have one stint where I moved to Chicago and worked for a company called High Sierra Bags and Outerwear, and I was national sales manager up there. So I got to travel the country, dealing and selling to companies like this and companies like Branding Resources. So it gave me a good viewpoint of that, a lot of international experience,
Yeah.
and bag and outerwear design. And to this day, I still use those experiences and those relationships. My sales force, ironically, shouldn't admit this, I can still dial some of my sales reps. I quit that job in 1999,
Wow.
and I can still dial some of my sales reps' phone numbers by memory. I don't think I could dial a single one of my kids' phone number by memory, but I know where to find them on the phone.
There you
Right.
go. There
I
you
can
go.
get to them. I just don't know I don't know what their numbers are.
So you said since you've been out of college, pretty much you've been in this industry. Does that trace back to your TCU daily skiff days?
It does. It does. I was talking to a group of kids from TCU one day, and I said, it all connects because I was having lunch one day in a cafeteria at TCU, and they had a little advertisement there, a little magazine called The Daily Skiff, and it had some classifieds. So company in Fort Worth was looking for someone to do some print delivery, and I drove a 4-door Delta 88 land yacht, if you remember those cars.
Any of those words mean.
Heavy
I'm not
metal.
good at
You can look it up.
Hi,
Or
friends.
Pat.
That's what he's talking about.
4-door
see
Delta
it.
88. Mine was light
Oh,
blue.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, like this one.
Close. Mine was a 4-door, but it was
Okay, I can't keep going.
it was
We can picture it.
picture 1980 something land yacht, and that's it.
Yep.
But so I thought, you know what? I can be a print delivery guy. I got a bunch of car space. So we loaded up, and I got the job. Worked for them my whole time there, pretty much when I was at TCU, and got involved in the TCU the Fort Worth ad business. So I was one of the few TCU students that was actually also involved in Fort Worth Ad Club. But I'd already been at Midwestern State for 4 years. I spent 4 years up there as an electrician. Thought I had the world all figured out, like a lot of kids do. Finally transferred off to get the degree, and then got involved with a little company over there called Jones & Lucas Advertising. Picked up a lot of experience, and then that just kind of led to everything else, from then, and it just all connects.
That's cool. So you mentioned you did not want to be a business owner. So what changed? Like, what was it that you're like, this is what I'm going to do now?
His wife.
Well, no, I know you said your wife.
She was secondary. I'd been with a couple of companies, and things just didn't go the way I didn't feel like the ownership did what they were supposed to do.
Okay.
To be a little bit discreet on some of that, I just felt like, and so I remember, by now, once you start having family, you got somebody counting on you. I had said when I was young, and I did leave a job when I was young, that if I woke up and I was getting ready to go to work and I wasn't excited to go, I'm not going. Period.
I feel that,
and it happened. It happened when I was young. I didn't before I met my wife. So I went in and said, "Here's the situation, guys," and that's how we parted ways. Well, when you have a wife and kids counting on you, suddenly your values change, your needs change. So I remember laying awake at night, just thinking, what am I going to do? I can't work here. I can't do this. I can't leave the kids hungry. What am I going to do? So I laid in bed looking at the ceiling thinking, okay, I'll go into real estate. They probably got some challenges there. I'll go, I started picking all these businesses and then talked to a fellow business owner, and he said, every industry you go to is going to have its certain level of people and stuff. You're not going to get away from that. It's not, it's like everything else. It's all a good idea till the people get involved. In every industry you get involved in, there's going to be people involved, and there's going to be problems. So don't think you're going to get away from anything.
Yeah, the only way to do it different is to do it different.
That's kind of what it came down to.
Thank you. I just came up with that.
Good way to put it.
Thank you so much.
So I was, I'm like, but I don't really want to, I had 2 small kids. And so my wife said, she'd do the part that really wasn't in my wheelhouse. And she still does.
That's awesome.
So that is cool. That is
still does.
Maybe I'm 41. Excuse me. And I have never in my entire life, same as you. Like I've had this idea, like some people want to be business owners, and I've just never, I've never had that urge or that pull or that calling. But I have thought more about it because I have friends, and we obviously spend time talking with great folks like you, and I find it so interesting because people are like, yeah, like I either knew I wanted to do it or I knew I didn't want to do it, and you're one of those guys that I think is really unique and is in the middle. And he's like, there was the opportunity. I knew I couldn't do this. I could not do that, so I have to.
Yeah,
and that's cool.
That's kind of what it boiled down to.
So, what were the early days? Like you mentioned, wife and kids, and you're trying to do things differently. Like, what were the early days of the company? Like, what did those look like, and how has that changed now?
When you start a company out of the house with small kids, I had my bedroom office.
Love it.
My quote unquote domain.
Reminds me of COVID. In COVID, I had a card table that sat in my bedroom, and I was on my computer and took calls in there. So just pretty much like starting a business.
When you're trying to mix business and home, especially with small kids, it was always fun. And so the first 2 years, I did pretty much everything there out of the house and got things going and got things rolling along pretty good. But there was about a time at 3:30 in the afternoon that kids coming home from school, and I would try to tell my wife, it's like, if there's anything you do to kind of keep that thunderstorm to a minimum when they come through the door. She's like, they've been cooped up at school all day.
Right.
Do you really think I'm going to keep them calm? And I'm like, probably not. So it took about 2 years to where we got to where we bought the warehouse in Grapevine. And that was a huge step. We embarked on that thinking could take us a year or two to find something we could really work with. And didn't take quite that long, but we were able to find a building that we're still in to this day.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
that was one of the biggest steps. We got, the lady I was working with on the real estate side told me, go find the buildings that you think will work, because I needed dock high, I needed ground high, I needed certain parameters to run a warehouse operation and be able to handle all the merchandise we had coming and going.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd been doing that with a third-party warehouse, so it was a little clunky. And so I needed, certain stuff. And she said, go find these warehouses, and I'll go approach them and see what their sales strategies are and when their timing is. Second one we found was perfect. It's right there in Grapevine. It was close. And so it was a quick, easy close. And we got in, did some rework, got the offices built out and got it going. And that worked out well. And we're still in them to this day.
That's so cool.
But, Sam's and Walmart are right next door to us. And they're trying to grow out of that, so the city and all the push is going to come that way. So it'll be a matter of time before someone comes and knocks on the door and puts me in an awkward spot to say, sell it, or, who knows what. But those days will come at some point.
Well, thankfully, Sam's and Walmart have a little bit of money that, could
Probably make
entice
it
you.
worth it. Yeah.
They may or may not be the ones that would do it. I think a developer will come
Oh,
play off of
interesting.
that.
But I don't know if you noticed, I went like the ski route for the introduction.
I did notice that.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
You're attentive.
Captain Obvious.
But you have a history with something relative to water sports, correct?
Very much so.
You want to tell our listeners about it?
I got involved in competitive water sports back when I was in college.
Okay.
And can now say that myself and all my 3 sons have all skied for their colleges.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of cool. Not many people can say that.
No.
But along the way, we encountered people who just didn't have the same ability and the opportunity. So the guy who introduced my wife and I had a family member that struggled with some physical disabilities, and she can never water ski. So we always figured out, how do we try to get her out on the water and get her skiing? And that led to a local group here called Metroplex Adaptive Water Sports, where we can take people with disabilities, regardless of what they are, and get them behind a boat safely. And we've taken 300-pound quadriplegics, we've taken amputees, we've taken 3-year-old kids, 100-year-old ladies. We've even taken people with tracheotomies.
That's amazing.
Water skiing.
That's so cool.
And so, some of the more disabled skiers require as much as 13 people for one skier because of how many people have to be on the shore to catch them.
Yeah.
And I've got videos when we have to do training and bring new people in to show how it works. But it's pretty rewarding.
That's
It's
awesome.
not something they get to do every day.
What got you passionate about that?
Seeing the joy in their face.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I showed you videos, you'd see the look in their eyes, and that's just not something that is normal in their world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it brings a level of normalcy and excitement to them.
That is really cool.
So how long have you been involved in that?
25, 26 years.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Did you grow up around or on a lake? Like what got you into skiing?
Or water sports.
Or water sports.
I grew up in Wichita Falls, and there wasn't a lot of activity for that kind of stuff. But I worked with as an electrician, and the guy that I worked with had a boat, and just we'd go out skiing after work sometime, and I fell in love with it. And it wasn't what I would consider it was athletic, but it wasn't competitive.
Yeah.
But I had some interest in it. I really, really liked it and wanted to get more involved in it. And when I transferred to TCU, knew they had a local ski club called Metroplex Ski Club. So I joined that, and then some friends and I decided, let's do a TCU water ski team. So we did it.
Okay.
And I tell everybody, if I can go back and relive any part of my life,
That's what it'd
it'd be that.
You mentioned you had an injury. Was that from the tornado that you survived in Wichita Falls?
No, it was a water ski issue, but I did survive a tornado when I was in 8th grade. It was a life-changing event.
Yeah, I grew up in Rowlett where we had nadir sirens a lot. And I remember the first time we actually got impacted by the naders, which was December 26, 2016. It was the day after Christmas, obliterated
remember
Rowlett,
that.
Texas.
Yep.
I couldn't leave my house for a few days. And it's so different actually experiencing it. Like we were kind of joking about it. We've always had to get in the bathtub, you get the mattress, you get the helmet, but you experienced something like real when you were in 8th grade, you said?
Correct.
What happened?
April the 10th, 1979, 6:10 p.m. to be approximate.
Damn.
there was a 47-mile long tornado that stayed on the ground 47 miles. And, when you're that age, you don't really have perspective yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the weather was just weird all day long. And even as a young kid, I kind of realized and knew what was going on. But we'd had a lot of tornado episodes where let's get the mattresses, get the blankets, ready to go to the bathtub.
Yep.
And nothing happened.
A lot of drills, it felt like.
A lot of practice. And then when the weather turned really bad, and you could just feel in the atmosphere, you could feel it. Mm-hmm. And the weatherman's voice was cracking. I still remember the weatherman's name. He was kind of a young weatherman, Wichita Falls, named Danny Luttrell. And his voice was cracking. You could tell he was aware of what was happening with this storm coming. And they started dropping tornadoes in Vernon and Seymour and all this area coming. My dad came home early. And the one time, it's a real event, my mom decides, tired of all these drills. Yeah. I'm going to keep cooking. And so we're out in the front yard, and a guy drives up that my dad worked with, and he has pulls up, rolls the window down, and said, "Hey, Peyton, did you get that file I dropped at your office?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "I'll give you a call back. We'll talk about it in the morning. I got a couple of questions for you." He said, "Okay. Hey, there's a big one on the ground. Come this way. Y'all might want to go take cover now." "Oh, okay." 8th grade.
Oh my gosh.
How big can it really be, right?
Yeah.
So Dad and I just stood there for a minute, and we're looking for a tornado.
Yeah.
We're looking for the little ropey thing.
Because when this happens, you get used to standing outside and watching the weather come in. Like, you're not necessarily always.
It's definitely another thing guys do.
Yes.
Let's go outside and see this severe weather.
Yeah, the frontal cortex at 25 for the men, I think is a little bit of a rounding error.
Just 25.
Yeah, mine's not there yet, but it will, maybe. But he put his hand on my shoulder. I can remember it like it was just happening, because he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, "Oh, that's it." And like I say, we were looking for the ropey thing, and it was our field of view. We could identify our field of vision was the tornado.
Everything you see is nadir.
It's there. And so you could see the tornado itself was roughly a quarter mile wide, and the damage path, the total destruction path, was about a mile wide. So between the debris and the tornado, it's your field of vision. And so we go inside, take cover, and they had a central bath in the house I grew up in, and Mom and I had our heads right next to each other under one sink, safely protected from about the chest up, if you will. Mom, my brother, and Dad are under the other sink. And in 8th grade, you don't really have a perspective, right? So we knew this thing was going to hit us. We knew we were dead. So we hugged each other real quick, crawled up under the sink, and just waited. And I'll never forget thinking, man, I made it to the 8th grade. That's a good long life. I was pretty proud of me. I made it all the way to the 8th grade.
Oh, and thought an 8th grader should never have.
No.
But now it's like, but how's it going to happen? How does this go down? Will I know what's happening? Am I going to get pierced? Do I get smashed? But the sound was so loud. My mom and I's head were literally right next to each other, and we couldn't hear each other, yelling, saying whatever. But nothing ever really happened. And all the sounds you hear, all the roaring buffaloes, all the trains, all those rolling thunder that doesn't stop. It all makes sense, because it was so loud and the house is just shaking. And sound comes and it fades off. So my dad got up and opened the bathroom door. He said, "Y'all stay here. I'll be right back. I'm going to check everything, make sure it's safe." So he gets up, Mom's bathroom door, and we're all right on his heels as he walked out that bathroom door. And when he opened the door, I thought we were going to see daylight. I'm like, there's no way this house is still here. And turn the corner, the rest of the house is still there. We walk out in the front of the house, and debris everywhere, but not that much, nothing really torn up. Wow. Go to the corner and look back the other direction, and all those homes are knee-high, and it's just flat. It's just gone. And, of course, as an 8th grader, you don't understand what just happened to these people's lives, their homes, their stuff. And then it dawned on me, I'm going to be seeing dead people everywhere. There's no way people survive this.
Yeah.
So I took off to a good friend of mine's house, childhood friend that we've been friends since kindergarten, still good friends to this day. I take off to his house, but you can't tell what's a street. You can't tell what's a house. It's just, you as you mentioned the one in Raleigh, you can't tell what's what. It's just debris. And people would literally stand up in the middle of this debris pile, literally, and go, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're all here. We're all good. Wow. We're alive and not hurt, So it took out 20% of the town in Wichita Falls. Wow. And it was a massive storm. And I think we only lost 44 or 45 people which was
crazy.
shocking.
Yeah.
If you saw the debris, you'd say, there's no way people survive that, and people walk right out of it. It was incredible. So, but you don't realize, as a young kid, you don't realize, and they talk about the book of James, you don't know what tomorrow holds. It's just, we're here today and we don't know what tomorrow holds.
Yeah.
I remember thinking about my dad and talking to that guy. Well, they were going to do some work tomorrow. They had some stuff to do.
Yep.
That didn't happen. And then, so we got through that. And then 3 years later, the same neighborhood got hit by a flood. And so went from one thing to another. And you just kind of learn, you got to be flexible. You don't know what tomorrow holds.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for sharing that story with us.
it was as a young kid, it was a good perspective to just always be ready to know, you don't know what life, this is what I hope happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what the Lord really has in store.
Yeah, hope for the best, prepare for what you can.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think growing up in Texas, you can not have a tornado story. Not like that. I think the tornado story, you've obviously experienced one. I haven't experienced one in the flesh, like in the actual presence, but there was one growing up that hit Gerald, Texas. This would have been, I would have been about 8th grade. It would have been
that.
97-ish. And I mean,
that was a monster.
It was an F5, I think. I mean, and I remember, like you said, the sky in the atmosphere, it was green, and it was just, we got stuck at school. Like, we just sat there. We couldn't leave school because of this tornado. Now, it didn't hit Temple, but yeah, it's, man.
It is pretty wild. And we have a more recent one, the tornado that hit Grapevine 2 years ago, went just behind our building. And I have a video of it going what looked like over the top of our building. And it hit the Sam's building behind us that closed the Sam's building until recently. And so I sent everybody a text and just said, hey, just sit this one out until the storm passes, thinking everybody already knew.
Yeah.
And one of our employees coming from Carrollton would have been right there at about the time when she got the text. And she's like, I don't know what weather he's talking about, but I'll sit at the house until it's all gone.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, because she was timing just right there. So that was a close one. Fortunately, that one wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
But
Still devastating.
it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Part of what we live with in Texas.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and I think our note said something about you growing up in farming. Did I make that up?
Nope.
So did you live on a farm?
No, we lived about an hour away from it.
Okay.
But it was started the year I was born. My dad was in the oil and gas business. And
He thought we have a baby on the way. Might as well start a farm.
And I had two older sisters. So, yeah,
Okay,
let's
fair.
he probably looking away for a way to get away from them probably, but cut. I'm just kidding. But he just always had a passion for it. And so we, from the time I grew up and knew, we raised wheat, we raised cattle. We had a horse one time. That was a bad experience. Probably more for the horse than for us because we were not good horse owners.
Oh, Lord.
And as
Poor
much
guy.
as I love horses, I don't know enough about what it takes to really be a good horse owner.
Sure.
So we learned from that one. But yeah, we've done that. Still run it to this day.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So
What do you feel like's the greatest lesson you've learned as a farmer? How not to take care of horses?
well, don't buy one.
Don't get a horse.
It's like a boat.
Do your
right?
research.
You
They're
don't-
easy to
don't-
get and hard to get rid of.
Best day, and is the day you buy it, and the second best day is the day you sell it.
It might be backwards on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Horses are real easy to get and hard to get rid of. But that's, I think what we learned mostly was to always, and it's the term I use in a lot of our work now, think it backwards. If you want to have what you need when you need it, you got to reverse the thought process. I was just walking through the halls and saw the graphics from the 500 practice that we did the graphics on and delivered all that merchandise. But the question was, okay, we got to have a graphic that communicates what you're trying to do here and talk about 500 practices, which is a big deal. But you're going to have an event. You're going to have a party. What are we going to do with all this stuff? Where do we want it so it's less touches and make it easy for everybody? Path of least resistance. So we got to think the whole process backwards. Where are we going to deliver this stuff? How are we going to set it up to where it's easy for everybody here and make life easy for everybody? So just like on the farm, we just planted our wheat. If we want to have a wheat crop next year when the wheat is due to be harvested, we got to plant it at the right time. And of course, now it's in the great hands of Mother Nature. But you can't plant too soon. You can't plant too late. You got to think it backwards. If I want a crop here, when do I plant
What's the goal? And then build a plan towards that.
Yeah, it's the
Makes
old
sense.
kind of a different way of saying begin with the end in mind. Like
Exactly.
we know where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
There may be, maybe not necessarily with planting crops, but there may be a bunch of different ways we can get there.
Sure.
But this is the end goal. So how do we navigate that?
I like that.
And you'd be surprised in some of our big programs, because we deal with some pretty major companies. And a lot of times the end goal hasn't been determined yet. We have an idea, we've got a concept, we got a little direction we're going to start.
What are we trying to do here?
But what's the finish line?
I know beforehand you said you don't listen to the podcast, but if you did, you would know that one of the questions I like to ask when we're talking about the early days was the best mistake you ever made. In those early days, you're learning and you're probably making plenty of mistakes. And so what do you look back on like, I'm so glad I screwed that up because it taught me a lesson that I needed to grow, scale, keep my business going, whatever that looks like?
It's a good question. I'll probably have about 10 suggestions or thoughts of that on the way home after I get out of here.
That's why I don't prep people, because usually it's like the first thing that comes to your head, even if it doesn't totally make sense, is like where I want to get into.
There have been several.
You can think about it. We can come back.
Yeah, we'll have to come back to that one. There have been quite a few along the way, but I did get involved in a forum at one point in time. They were talking about local business owners, and as you operate, what are the prevailing thoughts in your brain as you're operating and going through these challenges and making mistakes? And I remember early on thinking, if I'm going to start a business, it's going to be successful. This is not going to be like stick your toe in the water and see what happens.
Yeah.
There was never a point where it's like, man, I hope this works. I was all in, use whatever term you want. We burn the ships at the harbor. I'm all in. So, despite the
because
challenge,
you can't get back on the boat. That's why they're burned at the harbor. Okay, got it. Continue.
yeah. So, I'm in. We're
Yeah,
here.
like you have no choice.
I mean, you totally.
We're
Shut
stuck.
up. Continue. Okay.
We're stuck. So this is it. So there's no turning back.
Especially you, because you can't swim. Sorry.
Boy, he brought that one back to the beginning, didn't he?
Doesn't he do that, man? I gotta be careful with my
Well,
words.
well played.
So the ships are burned.
Ships are burned. So it just the decision to
Did you think of it?
yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, no, but keep going. I want to hear this. This is the mentality that I find so interesting with business owners. It's not a matter of, like you said, if it's going to work. It's like no. It will work. Like this will work. So keep pulling that thread, and then come back to your greatest mistake.
And the question that was brought up was, how do you keep operating, and what are your to keep you going every day? And of course, in today's world with technology, the flexibility has to keep coming. The internet came along when I was working at High Sierra, and nobody knew what to do with it. First of all, we didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Right. And I made a comment in a meeting one day. I said, "Look, guys, the internet's going to change everything we do and everything we operate. We just don't know how and where yet." And I think that's still true to a lot of degree, and AI is doing that.
That's what I was thinking.
So you have to flex with that stuff, pivot, whatever word you want to use, to make sure you're staying ahead of it. We just went through a very painful system change, but it was needed.
Yeah.
It's a little more white hair up here than there was this summer, but we're the dust is settling. We're getting through it, so that part's going to be good. But everybody in the world wants an Amazon level experience, right? Buying, we all get caught up in that. And the system we were using, as good as it was at certain areas, it didn't have any what I would call web-like touches. It wasn't in today's purchasing world. It wasn't what people expect. So we knew we had to make a change. So we did that this summer. Ironically, because I'm a genius, we decided to do it at the end of June and into July. And July 4th, the whole month of July is usually pretty slow for us. And that's a good time to start taking on big changes without a lot of deadline orders, because everything we do, including a couple I've got with people sitting outside that door, they have deadlines. We miss that deadline, it's all for naught, right? So everything's got a deadline, everything's got a timeline. We had more orders in July and August this year than we have in years.
I love that. I love that
so
for
it's
you.
kind of like, you got to be kidding, really? Thank you for the order, but now?
Yeah.
So we had to take all that, and it worked out. So we're getting through all that. But back to your initial point, it's a matter of how do you make the decision to make it happen. It's just foregone conclusion. It's just this is what I'm doing now. I got to make it work.
Fact. Just making it fact. Okay, greatest mistake.
I don't know how much I really want to admit on this one.
They can edit it out if
I
you
know
don't
whose
want it.
fault it was. No, he can keep it all in there. We had for a while there. This goes back about 10 years. My wife was only helping with certain parts of the accounting,
Okay.
and we had another lady that we'd known and worked with us for a while, working with us. And if you know anything about business ownership, and when a business owner says something about accounting, you probably know where the story's headed. We had a lady who figured out how to manipulate things pretty well, and we wound up with a big embezzlement case. And it was my fault, but I had good intentions in my defense, which there really are none, but I'm going to try anyway. But I was trying to help take some of the pressure, off and let the lady do more of the heavy lifting, if you will. And she saw some opportunities to help herself to some of the company funds.
Dang.
And it was a great learning lesson because you don't realize as a business owner all the different levels that you have to go through. Yeah. And when we made the case, when we reported the initial theft, the Grapevine police officer walks into our office and he said, "Can you show me the form where you tell people that they can't use company funds or company credit card for personal purchases?"
Yeah, let me go make it real fast.
And the look on your face pretty much was a look on our face. The what? The form you have everybody sign when they come to work here that says they can't, like, the one that says don't steal? The
Do I have to put that on a form?
Don't steal? He said, "Well, you're supposed to have one of those."
Noted.
I said, "Well, we should have. We didn't. Here we are."
Yeah.
So that was a very painful mistake.
Oh, yeah.
And we got it. It was a very, very elaborate. As we found out from the banks and from the investigators, the white-collar investigating officers, it was very, very well orchestrated, and the time was not by mistake. Everything was done with very intent, very, very well played.
So was this like a opportunistic thing that this lady fell into and just took advantage of, or was this like I kind of know what's here and I've got some people that can help me do this?
It's funny you say that because I've always said when people get in that situation, it's either a criminal waiting for a place to happen,
yep,
or somebody did something and got stuck and now they can't get back out of it. It's one of the two. And I'm not sure what this was.
Okay.
But the timing was interesting because I knew something was wrong. I was aware that things were happening, but I couldn't put my finger on it. So as I'm combing through the GLs, and I'm not an accounting major by any stretch of the imagination, I knew it was happening, but I couldn't put my finger on where. It was about Christmas, and Texas Monthly. Oh yeah, Texas Monthly had a big article from the Collins Street Bakery.
Okay.
About their big deal. And if you ever heard about that big story, it's a fascinating story.
Oh.
Guy stole $16 million.
Jeez.
They were going to do a movie recently, and Will Ferrell was going to play the character that stole the money. So it's called fruitcake fraud. It's all
Isn't that interesting? The guy that stole the money is going to get a movie made out of after him? Like,
it didn't work out well for him.
Yeah, okay.
He went to jail, and then I think he committed suicide soon after that. So it didn't work out well. But it was the story itself, the way he was stealing checks, and they detailed in the article. And I'm telling you, go read the article.
Okay.
Truth is stranger than fiction, and this dude proved it. So he goes through all that, and as I'm reading all that, I'm like, that's how she's doing it. So I went back the very next day after reading that article, and it got me on the right track. That day, I get a call from the Grapevine, or from a local bank. One of our bank customers, First Financial Bank, does a really good job with financial fraud. Best bank in America, if you ask me. But they called me and said, "I don't care what you're doing. You need to get over here and look at this. We got a couple of checks you need to come see." Like, I don't care what you're doing right now. Fortunately, I was close, so I ran over there. And she had taken 2 checks that she'd made to a vendor and put her husband's name on them and deposited them. And it was about $16,000.
Jeez.
And they said, that money is still in her bank in Capel. If you'll sign this form that you'll agree to press charges, we'll have that money back in your account tonight. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I signed the form, and they got that money back, and then we started the digging and the processing, and it took a while, and she pleaded guilty. My wife found stuff that she never thought. I promise you, she thought she had covered her tracks, Teresa's got the ability to she's a bulldog when it gets that stuff. She just dug and dug and dug, and she found stuff that I promise you she didn't think would get uncovered.
Huh.
And so she did a really good job.
The beauty of women. We will find it.
Well, I don't know if she'll ever see this or not. Hopefully by this time she's checked out if she ever watches this podcast. But well, no, I will say, if we ever have an account that's any out of balance at all, like a penny or not, we'll all know about it because she's going to, until she finds that penny, it's a game. She's going to find it.
It's so fun.
Yeah, that's something I think is really funny about what I do here at MB2. We work with financials, and we're, and for what we do, like, you want to be exact, but hey, if you miskey a penny here, miskey a penny there, like it's not
going to happen.
But it's not going to be a big deal. I don't take it that way. I'm like, no. These numbers came in this way. They match to this. Like, I am going to spend the time, even though it's not worth it, I'm going to spend the time to make sure I have that penny. It's just how my brain works. So I can respect that.
It's a blessing or a curse.
Yeah.
A little bit of both, depends on the time. But the good news is, and even the accountants have said, you're worried about 7 cents. Company your size, 700, 7,000. IRS doesn't care. Because I've always said, we'll open the books to IRS, God, and anybody. I don't ever want to play that. I'm not smart enough to play the financial fraud game. And I don't have a good enough memory to remember what I did. So I know not to play those games if I ever wanted to. But I always said we'd open the books to God, IRS, and anybody. And that, then she has the same mentality. So she's like, when we got into all that stuff, she was able to point all these little things out on this. And here where, the detail was phenomenal. But and the white collar crime officer over there in Grapevine, a guy named Todd Carse that did the investigating. As he looked through it, he's like, I mean, if you think about it, in white collar crime, it's not a very big number. If you think about the kind of cases they're dealing with at a place like Grapevine Police, they got some pretty big cases to deal with. This is not that big a deal, and it's my money, so it's a huge deal to me.
Yeah.
But to them, they've only got so much time. Yeah. I get it. But Officer Carse looked at that and said, "You know what? I think we've got enough detail. We can make this one go pretty quick." And so we did. And he was able to get her to plead guilty and did a great job with it.
Man,
so
what a bummer of a lesson to learn.
It was a pain. You know what the hardest lesson was? Just the fact that it's somebody we knew and trust and called a friend, and then here we are at Christmas. And, we're biblically commanded to pray for our enemies. Does that include her?
You're like, do I have to this time? Does this one count?
Yeah. I've joked with people. I'm like, I understand we're supposed to do that, but I can't find the verse about the timing. Somebody show me. And I know the answer before anybody comes after me. I know the answer. But it was hard because it's just like, this is not a good. Do I have to? So.
I'm going to shift it from the bummer to the exciting things. Okay. We talked about a good lesson that you learned, but what do you feel like was a pivotal point in your business that like really took off that was like a positive?
I think once we had the business building and the establishment there, we were able to show people we're a real business. Yeah. You have a presence now. It's hard to do that out of your bedroom.
Yeah.
So getting the actual building was a big step. Meeting people and having relationships along the way. Own this for 21 years now. I've been in the business for a long time and met a lot of people along the way. And a good example, Jeff Salucci here at MB2. Met him at Kindred.
Oh, great.
Relationship that came, through the sequence of people. And just all those people that we've gotten to work with. I mean, one of my first major clients was First Financial Bank back in, 2004 when we started this thing. They're still a major client.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Still, I tell everybody they're our business bank and one of the best banks I've ever dealt with. They are absolutely great to work with, but they've been a great customer all this time. And so great relationships there. The Penske company we work with called Premier Truck, we've been with them for 15 years. Wow. So being able to keep customers that long is huge. And we kept the Dallas Cowboys until they got out of the merchandise business. And the business that we did for them, they quit doing. They didn't that didn't leave. And once they got out of the merchandise business, that's when Rick and all the other people were looking for new jobs. And so Rick Mendoza, who's our graphic guy, and I connected after that, and I'm like, we could really use a good graphic, someone to make us look good, because we want to have an agency approach to everything we do, high level graphics. And I would argue that our image looks better out there when I see your stuff on the wall. I think it looks great.
What's the secret? You're talking about retaining and maintaining these clients for years. What are you doing that you feel like others might not be doing?
I think delivery is one of the key things.
Going on their podcasts.
Going on the podcast,
Yeah,
huge. I think just being able to react to the needs and deliver on time.
Yeah.
That's a surprisingly big issue.
Personalizing the experience, understanding that the impact that you have has on other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Was there ever a time or a story where that like you weren't able to deliver for whatever reason that you
Yeah, tell
learned
us
on
about your
that?
screw
Like
up
you're
there.
like, oh man, like I got to do this different next time.
No, never.
Do I have a truth meter on this? No, we've had a few. We've had a few. And COVID was a.
Oh man, I can only imagine.
I feel like COVID doesn't count.
Shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because everybody had inventory problems. All the supply chain was broken left and right.
Yeah, we were all Febrezing our groceries. It was a weird time.
It was very weird.
We were for freezing. Well,
I don't think that's the right
some
word.
people
but
were.
Yeah.
But I mean, there have been a few. We've missed a few sometimes, and we'll fly the stuff in if we have to. If we can make it on time, just whatever it takes to get it there on time.
Yeah.
And one of our biggest challenges in business now is freight. The UPS and FedEx rates are through the roof.
Oh
yeah.
And so we had a issue recently where we had to refill an order. They actually were short one T-shirt, not our fault, theirs, but we sent one T-shirt, two freights, one to get it in to get it printed, another one to them. I want to say it was like $31 to get it from here to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that's what it cost.
Yeah,
that's not what. But
They need that T-shirt.
if we ship a UPS letter across DFW, it's $12 to $15 just for a
Crazy.
UPS envelope. So you think about it, how much that adds to the cost of goods. A few years ago, that was only $6, $7, $8. So the freight rates have gone pretty
still
high.
seems to me like that's high. Now I'm just thinking about the Metroplex. Like, okay, what would it cost if you got in your car? Granted, it's your time, but if you got in your car and you
tolls
drove,
and gas.
well, that's true.
Or a
I guess I didn't
battery
think
if
about
it's
tolls,
electric.
but
Oh, sure.
Especially if you're in a hurry and then you're like,
get a ticket.
Yeah. now you're in jail because you were also drinking beforehand. Jeez, what a mess.
Just took a turn. I mean,
Has not happened yet to me. But,
I'm just saying.
I like to deliver as much of the product as I can in person because I want to see the eyes. I want to see their face. I want to make sure they're happy with it, right? The satisfaction is what's really important. And nothing is better than the look in someone's eyes. I can't see that on email. I can't hear it on a phone call. I want to see their face. And that's important to me and to us.
the good thing about MB2 is you know where we are and you can find us. And here,
For sure. Okay, before we wrap up, if you had to sum up your message for our listeners, what do you hope that people listening to this episode would take away from it?
As we talked about earlier, growing up in Wichita Falls, I was always just I was just a dumb little kid from Wichita Falls, right? Ran into different things along the way, learned a lot of lessons along the way. But if you'd have told young, dumb Matthew that I was going to be sitting here at this point in my career getting to go on a podcast with a company like MB2, I'd have said, I don't think so.
It's very sweet that you said getting to go and not having to go on a podcast.
But I mean, you look at who we get to work with. I mean, look at MB2. Y'all are game changers. This is cool. What y'all have done and what we've seen in a short amount of time to see what's happening, what's evolving with this company. You're game changers, and that's kind of cool. It's fun to be a part of that.
Thank you.
Penske, Capital One, First Financial, all these companies we get to work with. If you'd have told little dumb Matthew that I was going to get to deal with all those people in some capacity, I would have thought you're out of your mind. So I think if the message is if I can do it, anybody can do it.
I like
Put
it.
your mind to it, and
Burn the ships.
you got that. A lot of that, if you get to that point, that's what you got to do. But I never dreamed I would have a company like Branding Resources, and I don't know. It's been rewarding. I don't want the company to be about me. It's very important that it's not me because it can be self-serving, and can become idealistic a little bit if you let it, So I don't want it to be that because it's about us. We got great people. We've always had a great staff. We just lost a 9-year employee to retirement here recently. She came back and thought she's going to come back and say she had some part-time ability, but she didn't. So
Is this your account manager?
one of them, one of the ones that did most of the work with y'all through the years.
Man.
So, but we were lucky to find someone local that was able to step in and fill that role. Still probably gonna need to hire one more eventually, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
It's just I'm real careful because we spend more time working with each other at work than we do with our families.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's obviously y'all have dialed in on that. Y'all have a culture here that's phenomenal. So I think that's a very important step. But if dumb little old Matthew can do it, anybody
Stop
can do
calling
it.
little Matthew dumb.
Oh, yeah.
He just didn't know any better. Poor guy.
No, I would tell.
He was just doing his best.
Yeah, I would tell little Matthew that you're going to build something pretty cool and pretty special.
Make him proud.
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
congratulations on what you and your team
Yes.
has built. I mean, it's pretty incredible, and it's
Been fun.
It's a fun story to hear. Like I said, like I really latch on to things that resonate with me. Like hey, I'm kind of the accidental entrepreneur, and guess what? I just shifted and said we're going to make it work, and here we are.
Here we are.
Is there anything we didn't get to that you wanted to talk about today before we wrap up?
Well, we didn't get to talk about my buddy Steve, who sold, one of the Small World Connections. I love Small World Connections, right? And
Okay.
So somewhere along the way, we were talking to a buddy of mine, Steve Parker, that we coach football and baseball together. And our kids grew up together, so we spent a lot of time together. And I was telling him, man, I work with this cool company. They pod dental practice. Telling him telling him about MB2.
Yeah.
Look how cool this company is. He's like, yeah,
Brand ambassador.
I sold my company to him. So, so you don't need my input. He goes, and he told me he was a huge fan. So that was kind of interesting to hear,
Yeah.
the Small World connection of a good friend who'd sold his practice. And he goes, I am a huge fan of that company. So that was kind of interesting to hear from a whole nother perspective. I see what I see, but to hear it from somebody who's actually sold and has actual experience with y'all doing what you do
Yeah.
and still feels that strongly about what y'all do, that's kind of huge.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
That is, it's a fun story. I mean, it's something that we, again, in the role that I serve here or that I play here, like we lean on our partners a lot. And I mean, it's very important. It starts with Dr. V, but it's very important for everybody that supports our partners to make them feel like essentially they're the only partner that we have, so that they're getting the support that they need, so that is the feedback.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Like that's fun for me to hear, to be like, oh man, that's super cool. Like people are like, oh man, I'm on fire for, it's exactly what I was thinking and hoping and expecting, and even exceeded the expectations.
Yeah, I'm glad you added that in.
That's very cool.
So,
well, Matt, thank you.
You
for
bet. Thanks for
joining
having
us.
me.
Yeah, thanks for
Congratulations again on what you built.
Well, thank you.
It's a cool story to hear, and
Well, thank you.
we'll be looking for you. When you're delivering the next super secret swag stuff.
When I show up, it's like Santa Claus coming.
I love that. I love that. Well, MB2 Undergrounders, we have reached the conclusion of our episode with Matt Carnes. We will see you guys next time.
Ski you
That's good.
next time.
Thank you much.